Huh? And the track you're hearing is Demetori Funk to Funky. It's actually pretty funky for a metal track. Yeah, it's kind of insane. I remember the first time hearing this, I was like, holy fuck, I need to learn this, and I did. I actually made the first ever tab for this. It's surprising how few people actually know of Demetori and also transcribe the music. It's very bizarre. I literally don't think there's been any sort of new tracks, at least from what I'm aware of, unless someone's actually done it or requested it on Ultimate Guitar, or rather I'd call it Ultimate Cringe. But yeah, it's a very good track. I fucking love it. It's just so funky, the melodies, the way that obviously the guitars are done is quite genty, it's quite entertaining, and I just can't get enough of it. Every time it comes up, and on top of that it has some great solos. So it is very interesting, it's very unique for a metal track. And also this is sort of one of the things I also base my music off of, funny enough. And it's like, it's such a unique track, and that's why. I see it's had so much influence on the music I've done, it's insane. Because it taught me that not all metal tracks need to be like chunky, like palm mutes and big chords. It literally is a case where it just works because of the heavy gauge strings and low tuning, and it's played in a similar fashion to bass, with obviously a distorted tone. And that's what makes it so unique, it's so different. I just have so much admiration for this track. It's genuinely one of the greats of metal music, of Toho, covers of Toho as well. It's so fucking good. Anyway, also the weight transition is pretty clever. It sort of ends with like a sort of mute in a way. It goes a quiet bit and then it goes back into the main riff. And because the main riff is so filled up, it really makes up for that. Obviously the gap in between. So yeah, I don't really have anything else to add here, to be honest. It's just an amazing track that you need to listen to solo and hold someone's hand. Yeah, that's all, so let's move on to the first topic. Seeing this post on our social media reminded me of a massive controversy and a controversial subreddit from years ago. And I don't want to forget about this, but it seems like the people behind it are back or something. I could be wrong, but there was a post recently complaining about the criticisms of people on the vegan subreddit about their approach to activism, which is basically to be calm, which is fine. That's what a lot of people do, actually. At least those that can do it, they do it. And you see it with the Earthling Ed, for example, and you even see it with, technically speaking, even Danny Ishay and David Raz, if you even pay attention. Because these are calmer forms of activism. Like, they're not going around invading spaces, which in itself I don't have an issue with, because it's for the greater good. It's for good reasons. And sorry, you see many activists who do direct action, which is fine, but it's because it's a good thing. All activism can lead to good activism in the end. It does change things for the better because of the influence they have. It gets people to pay attention, it gets people interested, and it does work. That's why they do it. But this type of activism, which they're criticising, is ironically one of those calmest types. It's sort of similar to my own, I suppose, so I'm not disruptive in the slightest. At first I used to go into various posts on Reddit and basically comment on food posts specifically, because that seems to be one that's shoved in my face. Ironically, it's sort of turning out on their sort of opinion on their head, like into them, or whatever you call it. Yeah, a lot of the times there was a criticism about quote-unquote vegans forcing opinions down your throat, down our throat, whoever it is, and I just turned it on its head. They did it in a reverse card. Like, no, you. Stop forcing it on me. And we're as like we get that forced in our face every day. It's on advertisements, it's on even just the fact that the products are inspired by it. So it is literally forced on us. It is shoved down our throat. So again, it's just so fucking bizarre. But this post anyway, it really reminded me of the way that... what was I going to say? I'm getting distracted again. It just reminded me of the subreddit from years ago, which is called r/vegan circle jerk. Famously banned popular YouTubers and just people on Reddit in general. And you can get banned from there for anything. It doesn't matter, you'll just get fucking targeted no matter what. You can have a valid opinion on something. Say you don't like humans, they'll accept it. And they'll even go as far as to ban people who respect people, which is just fucking insane. But the one scenario I'm trying to think of, I remember something. I think it was on like animal testing or something. It's like talking about that from a rational perspective, where there may be reasons for it to happen, which sucks. But it is a thing, and that's something we need to discuss. It's just so fucking bizarre, and I think I was almost banned for that. I think it was like the other things that I just kind of like, what do you call it? I think I was just banned for the type of activism I do, which isn't apparently enough. But it's so fucking ridiculous, and they're even criticising, now is it, plant-based capitalism? Because a lot of them believe somehow there's this magic way to avoid capitalism in the modern age, where you can just get vegan food by snapping your fingers, or at least growing it, which is actually the only way to get it. But they forget the fact that that's not accessible to a lot of people. There's a housing crisis, for example, in the UK, so you can't do it here. You might be able to do it in the US, where you might get plenty of sunshine depending on where you are. But it's just so bad. Their reasoning was just terrible. It ignored the fact that you can't avoid it, and in the UK you don't have you just have supermarkets, and they are capitalist supermarkets, obviously. They have people seeking profit and paying minimum wage to workers, which is weird given that they don't really have a human rights stance. And I'm like 90% sure that it's not related, and I swear I saw one of these users in a recent post about Pride Month, because I saw it by controversial to see, because I want to see how many idiots there are. It's one of those things, I laugh at them. Sort of, I don't know, is it snide? I don't know. But it's worth doing, because at the end of the day, if you choose to be ignorant about things, that's your problem. I've confronted the truth, and I've come from a past of homophobia and transphobia, and guess what? It's because I didn't look into it that it became an issue. So, let's look at that, and there was someone there saying, this has nothing to do with veganism, what are you on about? For some reason, 3 idiots gave it a reward, but I think that's like, ironically, the VCG crowd, the vegan circle jerk crowd. Which I found extremely stupid. And it's also mainly downvoted as well. So that shows you all you need to know about that. But basically it's saying that you can't have these two related because it's not about the animals, and there's like a few like fucking sentences and paragraphs basically explaining nothing. And a lot of the comments and the replies were actually trying to debunk this. Some did well, I think, but others not so much. I replied my own, which is very simple. United we stand, divided we fall. And that's exactly what this is. In perspective, the way that the world works, oppression is linked. And we've known that for many years now, but now more than ever, it is especially it goes hand in hand. It's like they're almost shouldering each other. It's like they're that close. But that's what oppression does. It gets in the way and it completely fucks you up. So that's why attention needs to be given towards this sort of topic. And LGBTQ+ rights need to be established as a result. Because if you don't, guess what? Everything crumbles. Social justice crumbles, climate justice crumbles, animal rights crumbles, most of all. So that's what happens when you don't actually pay attention to it, when you try to divide everyone. It's such a fucking injustice. So yeah, that's one of the things. But I sort of have to mention more about the vegan circle jerk, because I'm pretty sure they criticise the way of eating. They're quite like anti-McPlant when that came out. Remember that? Trying to think what else they used to. So anything that used to have an obsession with dressing up in balaclavas for some reason. I don't know what the deal with that is exactly. I know it's like an anonymous thing, but they could have done better. Because it just makes them look like fucking terrorists. The ones that are very cliche looking. So it's just not good. They just harm the movement in general, and it's been proven as well. So there's been studies about this, proving that sort of the insulting method of being harsh to people and not like taking them seriously and stuff is more harmful to the movement than it is to be calm. It's just kind of ironic. But you can keep deluding yourself into believing that this angry way of doing activism is the way to go forward. So it's different when it comes to direct action, because that's not always done in anger. But it's mainly the point that insulting people is problematic, and that's probably why someone as controversial as HYPERSKY, for example, is not even seeing the light of day anymore. Everyone just ignores him. He's a fucking Zionist as well, so why even fucking pay attention to him? Like, he might be right about animals, but he's wrong about human animals. And that much is true. I think a lot of people will be. But it's worse when the opinion is that, as he said, I think he thinks Palestinians deserve to be fucking genocided for some reason. Well, there isn't actually a specific reason, and yet this doesn't ring any alarm bells to him. It's not like, I hate to say it, but it is similar to how we treat animals, because that's what Israel are doing. They treat Palestinians like animals, and that immediately puts them at a lower rank in their eyes, which is fucking horrific. Essentially what's happening in Palestine anyway is a Holocaust, but that's another topic. Holocaust, mass slaughter, that's what that means. So, I don't really know what else to add here. But as I said, the story basically is that Vegan Circle Jerk was an absolute shithole of a subreddit, and it is a Snark subreddit as well, because I'm almost 99% sure they used to mock types of activism, activists and people, and even post as well. So anything you posted to r/vegan, for example, they'd put on there, they'd laugh at it, there'd be a bunch of comments. I'd be surprised if nobody's actually been hurt or killed as a result of this. Because yeah, like, knowing what we know about vegans, this is the other thing. The thing with veganism and obviously animal rights is that we're in this together. And the reason that some people are vegan, I'll guarantee you most actually, is because of trauma. There's actually a bit of trauma in everyone. Whether it's from disability, whether it's from school, whether it's from real world experiences, or even just harder shit like being on the front line or whatever. But literally, and even the Holocaust victims as well, let's not forget. And children of Holocaust victims, but it's harder when someone like Vegan Circle Jerks or someplace like it is trying to divide you. that's why we have so many issues here. That's why it causes so many issues, and that frankly is not justifiable. It is ridiculous that these sort of places can even exist. That's why I bring them up as such a big issue. They're just literal accounts. They're Snark, and that's what the content is. It's just Snark content. And it just doesn't deserve to exist at that point. Yeah, it's just a horrible place, and it also just divides us as well, as I said. That's what I mean by divided we fall and united we stand. But that's what it is, and there's also this whole thing with intersectionality. I remember this being a big discussion a few years ago. But what ended up happening essentially was people realised that intersectionality is actually good. And if you didn't have intersectionality, then, well, bye-bye rights, because no animal's getting it. The person's getting it. You're just done for from that point. And that's why it's such a huge issue here. But that's essentially what it boils down to. It sucks, but that is the reality of this. So, yeah, don't really know what else to add here, to be honest. It's pretty much covered everything here. So let's move on. Okay, it's really happening. Stay calm. Well, there's been some news, I think, around politics, which are kind of concerning, but at this point, I don't know. It kind of feels like it's worth it. Because fuck the world and fuck this planet. Seriously. I think it deserves the worst in some cases. Just people. People just suck. I hate it. So this came from Midas Touch on Blue Sky. They're saying that reports of strikes, explosions and air defence activity now in Keshem Island in Iran. Kuwait, is that the country? Kuwait? I'll look it up. Kuwait is officially a state. So it's close to Iran. And Bahrain as well. There's also another thing with this actually, which needs to be mentioned. Yeah, it's close to Iran as well. It's not surprising. And then there's obviously Erbil, Iraq. Okay, we're doing a sequel, I guess. But this also is quite bad news, because as someone who isn't even into sort of the military stuff, it is concerning. Obviously, we're seemingly headed towards more conflict, whatever reason that is. Probably more oil and just more scarcity. It's fucking horrific. Apparently Iranian missiles and drones have reportedly striking multiple locations across the region as the conflict continues to escalate. So I don't know if that means that Iran is trying to deal with the US or what. I can't really figure out from this what it means exactly, but then there was I think no, it's actually before that. It says like the Kuwaiti armed forces responding to current hostile missile and drone threats. By this is the horrific nature of the world we're in at the moment, and it just doesn't make sense that this is allowed to happen. But this leads into another thing, as I've just seen here, Netanyahu mentioned. So it seems like that they are still going forward with literal bullshit and literally trying to genocide an entire nation on top of an unlawful war. And there was apparently a phone call between Netanyahu and Trump in which Trump said he's completely fucking crazy and he'd be in jail now if it weren't for Trump. That says a lot about the world situation at the moment. And what's even crazier though is people seem to act as though somehow that the US is like a big fucking scary force, when the reality is they're not. Like, we've seen the shit they've got in Ukraine, it's not shit really, it's actually gold. But you know, look at how much that's done to support them. And this is all provided by everyone but the US. So it just goes to show that the reality is we can actually take on the US as NATO, probably. I only say probably because they obviously have nuclear programs, but still. I think one of the biggest problems we see is an overtaking of the world. But it would be like the US and Israel probably get together, they're band together. Europe is taken over by Israel, obviously, and then that becomes its entire state, and then obviously they join forces, and you know, maybe Russia gets involved somehow. And then they start to take over the rest of the world, so they go for probably places like China. Go for places like India as well, if you even want that at this point, because at the moment it's being absolutely devastated by climate change, so I don't know why you'd want India, to be honest. And no offence to people living there, it's not your fault, it's full of just idiots in the third world countries, I guess. Was it first world? Have I got them mixed up? I can't remember. Yeah, it's just actively a lot of danger here, and as we can see, pretty much out there in the open, you got genocidal war criminals seeking to do as much damage as possible, seemingly for, again, money purposes. And that's just ridiculous. Like, why the fuck is this even allowed? I'm struggling to figure that out. It just makes no sense, no matter how you look at it. It genuinely seems like the world is just going backwards. And once again, it's by the US. The US causing these problems. And, you know, I have the suspicion as well in the UK that multiple parties here have been bought by the US, namely Reform and Labour. But there's even the possibility of Restore, because there was also that interaction with Elon Musk, which again is like a big warning sign about what's to come. It's about to be extremism, like a genocide of democratic people, although for some reason idiots will think that they can actually do something, but I think it's already proven that they can't. Because Democrats happen to be stronger. People who are progressive socialists are just much stronger in general because they know what it's like to have hardship and what it takes to prepare. It's just not shocking at all. It's literally ridiculous that somehow they think they can control the world. These are ironically the morons who claim to protect women and children, but are then enforcing things that actually harm women and children. For example, supporting Israel. So, it's just so fucking just bad. I don't even know how to describe this anymore. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if either today, tomorrow, whatever, how long it takes, there is a World War III. It almost feels like it is already. But I don't know. It's kind of hard to comment on, but still. Just shows that there's so many problems here. And also, like, I don't understand also what's taking so long with dealing with Russia, for example. Because I feel like once that's done, we have the insight and support of, no doubt, Ukraine. Though we still have to help them a lot, obviously, to reconstruct and stuff. But then we've got that unbelievable military might and intelligence, although not necessarily they want to fight or need to. You know, they've got the weapons and stuff, they've got all our arms, and it goes to show that in this sort of mutual relationship, I guess you could call it, with the arms that we have, the technology, is possible to start and end a conflict as quickly as that. But obviously I think we need to take more drastic measures when it comes to certain other countries, Israel. And that just needs to happen, doesn't it? There's just it's on everyone's mind, this is a thing, because you'll think, oh, well, what are we supposed to do then? Like that's what we're supposed to fucking do. Just get rid of these war criminals and these places that are just seeking to harm everyone. That to me seems like the best solution. And it includes countries where there's a majority who think they're untouchable and think they could get away with war crimes. And in fact even enlist in said war crimes, but this is the sort of thing that happens. I even just saw, like yesterday, there was a post, a video rather, of things like recent happening in Israel, for example, and what's happening there is a bunch of Jewish people who are literally trying to fight against being enlisted for the IDF, like they're being drafted into it, which is fucking insane. Like, Israel are trying to draft people into this military. Like, what the fuck? You know, the faces of some of these Jewish people as well, they're under 20. Like, Jesus fucking Christ, they haven't even bloody lived. And they're already trying to draft them in. Like, it's weird how they've become literally their own worst enemy. Because before it would have been, obviously here though, I'm getting ready to fucking jump to the toilet because I'm about to shit myself. This is what's happening, it's fucking absurd. Yeah, they're literally turning into Nazi Germany. That's not an exaggeration, that is a fact. You can reference this, you can see the similarities. The only difference is they don't at least use gas chambers, they don't torture people, well, much. Torture people much, I mean. Like, they're lucky to get, unfortunately, instantly killed, but that's another thing entirely. I just don't get it. This is what the world is coming to, and many people, many countries are complicit. Yeah, the UN didn't step in when they should have, when it came to Gaza, and they're not even stepping in when it comes to the Iranian war. It's just absurd, and people really need to take back their countries. That's just what it feels like to me. You know, not under the guise of anti-immigration, which for some reason UK people believe is a thing, as if that would actually solve the problems, but what we actually need is stable income, stable jobs, stable housing. Simple. And stable food, obviously, and drink. But they ignore that and decide immigrants are the problem, and they should get fucked. So I don't really know what else to add, but you know, that's where we're heading to. And if that's what they want the country to have, then okay, go ahead. See how that will turn out for us again. And see how that will turn out for the round as well. So, yeah, anyway, let's move on from this topic. Oh my god, it's finally happening, unfortunately. Another thing, UK violent protests. And this is about the Nowak murder. But you know, Nigel Farage cited a riot essentially. And pretty much none of these people look intelligent. I don't even see like a single woman here, do I? I don't know. Also not a single person of colour either, so you know, it just goes to show it's entirely racist. And that's why people say it is. And, you know, these idiots are kicking the fucking riot shield, and the police are having to fight back because of that. It's just not surprising. But Sky News did a short on this, which props to them. They did it a
kind of neutrally protested Southampton over the murder of Henry Nowak descended into violence on Tuesday night. Yeah, the protest was sparked by a release of Bodycam footage in which Mr. Nowak was killed saying, "I've been stabbed," and an officer replying, "Don't think you have, mate." What? It's fucking nuts. You know, there is no right side in this situation other than, well, obviously what Nowak's parents was probably saying. I do think all this is just extremely stupid because it is police brutality in the end, and that's not entirely racist. It's a white officer attacking a white officer, and obviously the murder that happened for obviously the unfortunate and unjustified arrest was done by someone of a different nationality, but it isn't on the basis of racism or apparently Sikhism according to the family. It's on the basis of just wanting to murder someone. So I'll take their word for it over what Nigel Farage is saying, where they've already said that they don't want this to create more division and more hatred that we already have. Also, what happened to my blinds? For some reason they're closed. I don't remember doing that. That's weird. Oh, sorry. Anyway, there's more to this story. They do it in text for some reason, which is kind of good. So props to Sky News again for not being one of those places that does like an AI generated voice or voice over even, for some weird reason. They say as well that Deagle falsely told police at the scene that he had been racially abused by Henry Nowak, prompting officers to handcuff the university student as he lay dying. Yeah, that's basically the story from that. Deagle was the one who murdered him. But also, like, there is CCTV footage of him, I think, leaving, I think it was either the university or a restaurant, and there was no proof of that, from what you could see. So it's a bit weird. But then there's more here. I think it's the last thing. Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood said the violence was completely unacceptable, accused protesters of hijacking the tragedy to stir up violence and disorder. Yeah, pretty much. That's what it is about. But it's quite unfortunate, really. Yeah, it's unfortunate that a victim is being used this way, and I guarantee you, if this was to happen to someone you or I know, it would be just as bad. But, you know, they're hijacking these incidents to, once again, stir up outrage. The same way that before this. Fuck is that noise? Well, I have like an ambience. I don't know. What do you think's happening today? For some reason, a fucking food composter fell over. I don't know what's happened to that. But before this, it was about I believe it was a Pakistani man who raped a 12-year-old girl and was seemingly arrested and maybe not charged, if I remember correctly. But, you know, as outrageous as that is, and there should be protests about that anyway, it's not because of nationality, it's because he just did something wrong. That is just inherently wrong. And ironically, this protecting the women and children thing doesn't make sense, because whenever you look at it, the most prominent factor in that, in where women and children are not protected, is actually through, guess what, white British people. And it turns out most of them are these sorts of people, and they're probably the same people in this protest that we're seeing now. And yeah, that's causing tons of issues. Like, what the fuck? It's just absolute insanity, and it's just absolutely unnecessary as well. Because the other thing I have to come back to with these sort of things is, what's your reason for protest? And then you look at it, you look at sort of what the reasons are that people do protest, and you can see sometimes there are actually good reasons. Other times there are not. Yeah, actually most of the time good protests happen, but not many people realise it. I think one of the biggest ones is, think about, like, for example, if we go into the past, obviously human rights protests, so black rights, women's rights, LGBTQ plus rights, disabled rights, they all happened for a reason, and they had a good reason for that. It's one of those things we can't refute. And then in the modern age, we're seeing even more of that. We're seeing like voter protests, and we're seeing obviously voting rights being fought for, and also animal rights and environmental rights. There are so many different things being protested, and they're good. But then there are those which aren't good. Actually, another good one is actually protesting against ICE. I'm trying to think of others, like protesting against unjustified wars like Iran, and obviously what Israel are doing to multiple countries at this point, not just Palestine. Doing so many different things are wrong, and the protests are justified. But then you've got this rare example where people are doing it through hatred. They're not doing it to reach peace, they're not doing it to reach an understanding. They're doing it to incite violence and hatred, and that is at the core of what they do. When I looked at that Nigel Farage post, let me look for it again. Nigel Farage, see, latest. If it's not a censored version, well, not censored version, that's just translated. Pretty clever. For some reason it's not showing up. For some reason it's all 1 month ago. Wait a minute. What is going on? I think Blue Sky are censoring Nigel Farage posts. Let's not misspell him. Nigel Farage 1. And that might be it, yeah. Police battled with missiles at Henry Nowak protest. What the fuck even is a missile? I will look it up, but it would come up with the wrong thing. So I don't know what that even is in terms of street talk, whatever you call it. Yeah, the protests are happening anyway, and that's the thing. What's this? Front line of protests. Some dickhead in a suit for some reason. And for some reason they're pushing their own people forward into the police. And also, this is the other stupid thing. They're doing it in front of houses. They're not on the fucking commercial places, but they're in front of houses where obviously people are living and trying to fucking sleep and shit. And this is also probably the morning I'm looking at here. There's that one from 18 minutes ago by 57 actually, Candace Holmes. It's like so fucking dumb, and some of these idiots are wearing flags. It's so dumb. Yeah, where is the post? For some reason it's not showing up. No, there's another thing though. The fear of being called racist is greater than dealing with Henry Nowak's death. We should respond to this with pure cold rage. Britain's historic way of life is being thrown away. That's such an inciting of a fucking riot. So he did this himself. Just nuts. And someone actually referencing the previous thing, we mustn't allow the tragic murder of a young woman to turn into attacks on men and attacks on police. Like, what the fuck are you on about? Like, this is just like saying, oh, let's hope that water doesn't turn into wine or something, or wine turn into water. Like, what the fuck are you even saying? That's not going to happen. You absolute moron. That's not how it works. There is no party out there, from what I understand, that thinks that oppressing men oppressing men for that matter, is going to absolutely turn the country into chaos. Let alone they exist. It's just nuts. I just don't understand why people believe this and how stupid they are to even believe it. It genuinely doesn't make any sense. Yeah, this is frankly absurd. And then what else is there? There's obviously it's like women being oppressed, so yeah, it's not turning into men and white people being oppressed. It's not the fucking thing that's happening. It is pushing fires and it's like dump bins into fucking riots. What? To the police? What are you doing? That's the best they could come up with. So what's this knobhead doing? He's fucking with the camera, doing like a selfie shot. This is what I mean when it comes to taking exploitation of vulnerable in society. You can expect that sort of reaction. What? It's pretty much unintelligible now. The fuck? Is this guy complicit? I don't know if he's just recording on this, I don't know. It's hard to know. It's that sort of thing. Yeah. Obviously, all this just doesn't surprise me at this point. But you know, I don't really side with anyone in this case. Obviously, the police who've committed the murder themselves, that are perpetrating it, should be arrested. Everyone involved in it. Because they should have obviously checked for stab wounds. It should have been obvious from the start. Yeah, they should have also called an ambulance. Assuming that the family didn't already do that. They probably called 911 and said there was like a stab victim, and then also there's no ambulance service, so they send the fucking police instead. Weirdly enough, I've got experience with this. Because I used to be extremely depressed and suicidal. I didn't know what to do in my life. I just wanted to kill myself a lot of the time. And they would send over the police, like, I'd say like 4 times out of 5. Which is fucking absurd. Why are they sending the police to do over a suicidal person? It's just ridiculous. Yeah, and luckily I was never handcuffed in those situations because I very much think it could have happened. But I just don't understand the fucking point there. It shows that we need migrants as well to work in the NHS and obviously help as a paramedic. We currently lack paramedics, and that's also one of the reasons why actually I'm trying to avoid going to the doctors and stuff, and I think now it's become so desperate that I've actually taken the steps to make more dentist appointments, because I previously missed one because of idiotic workings in this place. Basically had a date and a time, wasn't feeling well the day before, they didn't even ask me anything, they didn't even say anything, and then turns out I got told off because I missed an appointment. Like, okay, thanks. You know, I wasn't feeling well, so what the fuck did you expect? But I'm gonna have to revisit a lot of this stuff and get it done before anything worse happens in the UK. Because it's currently happening, or what's going to happen. And obviously with there being rumours about Keir Starmer being succeeded by, unfortunately, West Streeting, another dickhead who doesn't care about human rights. It's just not very good. And honestly, I think the thing with Labour, the thing that needs to happen, in my opinion, is people who, I think in Labour, they need to vote the person to go into power next. Not to have just a fucking deputy leader or whoever the fuck it is going into that place, but literally have a vote. Once we should replace them, there should be a vote to initiate it. So someone calls a vote every, like, I don't know, once a year maybe. That's probably the most you could do. And then that decides if you want to replace the current leader. And obviously that comes down to the party itself. And then obviously the voting comes after that. So if it's like yes, then you do the actual emergency vote. So in like a month or so, you should be able to replace the said Prime Minister. I could be wrong, I don't know how it works, but that's how it could work in my head. But hopefully that would mean people would vote for a level-headed person, someone who isn't Keir Starmer or Wes Streeting or whatever the other dickhead is called, I can't remember. There's like a third one, I think there's multiple actually. I'm not talking about Peter Mandelson. No, not Peter Thiel, he's fucking US. I probably came to mind because I saw that South Park clip again. He thinks that 6'7" is like
a demon or something. It's just funny. Yeah, I can't think what else there is. But, you know, this is the state of the UK at the moment, so yeah, I just wanted to report on it to say that it's actually happening. But yeah, also I would like to say I would hope that things, and fucking hell, Alexander Misko's got some arms on him now. You know, I'd like people to just be calm about this, but at the same time, I don't know. The country's just in chaos, and I hate that a tragedy and rather very bad incident is also just being used to incite this violence and hatred, although, again, partially justified. But I'd be more outraged if I was a minority that had been attacked. At least I don't know Henry Nowak's nationality, actually, I haven't said that. Because for all I know, he could actually be from another nation, like, you never know. They're British Polish, actually, wasn't he? Hang on. I'm pretty sure I've read that somewhere, I could be wrong, so don't take my word for it. You know, I'd be more outraged by that, the fact that someone of another country is being targeted. And obviously the reason this was getting to this protest, you have to have a solid foundation for this, otherwise your protests are meaningless. And this is the biggest hint I can give to enough reform and restore voters. But if you haven't got a good foundation, it just crumbles, and then so does the country. So you don't actually get the things that you're demanding. You don't get to see women and children protected, you don't get to see immigrants deported. That doesn't work under what you're believing. So without that solid foundation, you've utterly lost the plot. This is one of the things that all the previous protests for human rights and animal rights, as we're seeing, and also Earth's right, it's all based on science and evidence. We can prove that we bleed the same blood, we're all very similar in a way. And that is itself the reason why we got those rights to begin with. But as it currently stands with what we're seeing with reform, it's just literal hatred and violence and racism. That's all it is, and that's the foundation. And the foundation for this, seemingly, is like White Lives Matter, which isn't even a good fucking foundation. In the US, let's compare it, because this is the closest similarity, but not similar in that sense. Obviously, one's a bit different than the other. But you know, Black Lives Matter, there were some horrible riots from that. But ultimately, the protests that happened around it were justified. And this was because someone of a minority was targeted, attacked, and killed in broad daylight in a span of 10 minutes. And it was done by the police, which in America were notably very corrupt and very racist. And this was really the straw that broke the camel's back, and unfortunately, I hate to say it, George Floyd's. And that's what sparked all these protests and the Black Lives Matter movement. And this included getting white people on board as well, people who opposed racism, and thankfully so. And yeah, that obviously caused outrage, and you've got the Trump supporters laughing at it, saying, haha, fucking blackies who are obviously protesting about this, thinking that they have rights. And some saying they should go back into slavery, and it's fucking horrific. But I'd say that's a justified protest. It doesn't justify rioting, that's a different thing entirely. But the protest, that's fine. But the reason why White Lives Matter isn't a thing is because white lives, once again, are not a minority. Let me look this up. How many white people are there in the world? Let me see if this comes up with a result, because I wonder if someone's calculated this. Global population of white people 2025. Oh god, it's an American thing. So what? These numbers don't seem right. Just percentages across each place.
mainly like the main places, main countries. I don't know, it seems like half and half in places, but also majority in others. Total white population. Well, this thing is fucking terrible. I don't think anyone knows the numbers here. It's just bad. You know, I'm guessing there's like a majority of white people in the world, just based on those brief numbers that I saw. 56% I saw was on the higher numbers, which was so exciting. But you know, there isn't a good justification for this, and then white people in Britain, like, let's look at this United Kingdom. Northern Ireland, 96%, 2021. England, 81%, 2021. Scotland, 92%, 2022. Wales, 93%, 2021. So, yeah, the whites are not in a minority. And other groups here, I'm not sure if it's defined here, but that's going to be people who are like almost white, I think. You know, other countries, which don't have the same issue, by the way, have far less white people. Canada is 67%. So that's much less than what we have. And then there's Cuba, 64%. Let's see what other ones are. Guatemala, 7%, but you know, that's it's Mexico, is that? Could be wrong. Puerto Rico, 17%. And the United States, apparently. 2020, it has 61% white people. So again, we're not in a fucking minority here. Your point is just fucking mute. It doesn't make sense. You have no justification here. It's an absolute failure to even make the point. Yeah, the UK isn't being taken over, and this is why people are now starting to throw around the term white supremacy, because that's what it is. At the end of the day, it is white supremacy. That's what we're seeing at the moment. And again, using Henry Nowak's death for some reason, even though he's white, it's just fucking absurd. I genuinely do not understand it. What is going on? So yeah, I don't really know what else to add, but yeah, that's the situation. I think it's again absurd, and hopefully this just rolls over soon. This sort of shit shouldn't be happening, but it is for some reason. And I'm tired of it, obviously. Anyway, I better get on with my hobbies. I'm almost done, really, surprisingly. I've still got some bits to do after when I've done my day. But yeah, so let's move on. Well, I find this statement interesting. Disability Rights UK. It's the first time hearing about them. Don't know how I've not heard of them before. But they posted a comment on the EHRC's new code of practice. So I'll read off what they say. As the makers of the original radar key and custodian of the National Key Scheme, Disability Rights UK issues our unequivocal solidarity with trans people, who should not be forced to choose between risking harassment in public facilities or not using them at all. We are appalled at the implications of the codes that an adequate workaround is trans people using disabled toilets instead. It is a vain attempt to get two marginalised groups to blame one another for our lack of facilities when the blame lies firmly at the feet of policymakers. We will not fall for it. We will not be used as a loophole in the wider erosion of trans rights. Our radar key scheme began back in 1981, rooted in the understanding that accessible facilities can be the difference between living the lives we deserve, socialising, travelling and working around, and complete social exclusion. Our community knows how it feels to be scapegoated simply for trying to access the necessities we need to live. Trans folks do not come at the expense of disabled nor anyone else's. As is clear from this code of practice, it sets a dangerous precedent for the erosion of other protected characteristics. If the Equality Act can be up for debate in this arena, who is to say this will not be the case when it comes to disability in the near future? As a result, the disabled-led movement must make a clear stand against this bullying, not to mention because 52% of trans people are disabled themselves. Yeah, really good statement. Also, it's justified. I think it's frankly absurd that people will are going to scapegoat this like this, and it reminds me of how people say that trans people are mentally ill, when the reality is it's not mental illness at all. It's gender dysphoria, which isn't classified as a disorder or illness as far as I know. But it is treated like one for sure, but that's a different thing. So it's just crazy to me that this is a thing that has to be done now for some reason. Because even though there are most certainly benefits to having all this, to having people having sharing the same toilet, literally. But the problem is, people are so fucking corrupt in the world that they don't care who it affects. So even something like this, which it seems like it should be obviously government funded and stuff, and I don't know if it is, it's just going to create a divide. The code of practice is absolute bullshit and everyone knows it. This isn't some secret either. It's not like some sort of conspiracy where we're trying to invade bathrooms with trans people. It's literally the fact that people don't care and don't even notice. It's like what I've said before about this on, I think, the previous episode maybe. But you don't even recognise trans people because they pass as who they're identifying as. A trans woman will definitely pass as a trans woman, but believe it or not, some cisgender women don't even pass. So the fact is, you cannot dictate who is and isn't trans. For example, when I shave my beard completely off, for example, I look like a lesbian. I was just going to say, I look like one of those stereotypical lesbians. I say those stereotypical because literally the way that media portrays lesbian people, unfortunately, is too commonly like that. It's a bit strange, really, but that's one of the things. But I can be easily mistaken for either a trans person or a lesbian, as I've said. It's just like kind of funny in a way, because I don't know, it's one of those things. I sort of think of the Simpsons joke, the lesbian bar and the fire exit. But yeah, it's obviously all concerning. So I don't really know what else to add here other than it's a good statement. But we shouldn't be fighting over, obviously, toilets like this, like disabled toilets, all things disabled. That's just a crazy thing. Yeah, there's absolutely no place for that. And given that the other toilets serve their purpose just as well, is just even more crazy. It sort of makes me wonder, at a certain point, someone needs to fucking go into Parliament, legal or not, when they're having one of these discussions again, and show them what trans women actually look like. Because I guarantee you their image of a trans woman isn't exactly what they're thinking. I think the idea of the EHRC is they think they all have masculine traits by virtue of being trans. But of course that is not reflected in the reality. The reality is completely different. You'll see in reality that many people pass, as I've said. And when I say pass, just to make that clear, people pass as whatever gender they're identifying as because they go through, one, the treatments of it, and two, they can just naturally look like they are passing as that. The same way that someone can't as well. So
I mean, like a cisgender person can't, but this is exactly the issue. And I also saw somewhere that I think it's up to businesses as well if they want to allow trans people in spaces or not, which is really detrimental as well, because also you can't really you can't expect customers to be happy with that. And if anything as well, if it turns out to be a controversy to begin with, there's literally a case to be made where it will turn people off going there. And this is the other thing, this really hurts businesses as well. It'll just make people put you on the list, both, like everything really, not just the place that happened, but the names of everyone involved. And you're fucked. Because it really depends on the people you fuck with, but if you do fuck with the wrong people, that's going to backfire massively. Like, trust me, some of the most intelligent people happen to be part of these minorities, whether disabled or LGBTQ+, and even like black people and women. But you really underestimate it because these groups, because they end up being more intelligent because they have experience in these areas. They have experience in a lot of different things here. So again, it's just extremely absurd. You know, these people have more knowledge and know-how of these things, and again, to have a business kick you out for whatever, and when it becomes disability, it will be about that. But people will no doubt not forgive you for that, and they'll do everything in their power to literally see that the business fails. It's not really a case of whatever you call it in like legal terms. I think it was like a, what's that thing called again? I can't remember. There's like a term for defaming someone, I think. It's like that. And the reality, obviously, is that you will get fucked because you just don't allow people in. It's just nuts. So, yeah, I don't really know what else to add. Let's see if we've got any Southampton news here. What takes 3 photographs of racist hooligans in Southampton attacking police and property? One person bothering to try and hide their face with a scarf doesn't hide the eyes. Exactly. Throwing shit. Throwing beer? The fuck are you doing? Throwing people's... What is going on? These people are so fucking stupid. And there's this clip as well I saw earlier, which is about, what do you call it? This guy being, well, I'd say attacked by the police, but the police are obviously not right in this situation either. But this is the irony. You've got corruption versus fascism here. And the irony is that they're stomping out fascism, which is exactly what I've been saying. But the fact they recognise that is probably a sign that they're more intelligent than you, but what do I know? I can't really say that their actions aren't justified. As I said, it's fucking ridiculous. So I'm trying to think what else there is. Is there anything else? For some reason it's filled with Epstein Web. I don't know what this is even. It's not even about Southampton, so what the fuck is going on? Why is this even showing? I'm gonna block this account, I think. What the fuck? Mute account, that might be better. Why is it still showing? Say Southampton news. The tags itself, it's not it. It's from 1 month ago. This is latest as well. So not many people are posting on this, it seems. And then there's a Terry Pratchett quote, which believe it enough I am reading Discord at the moment. Saying, human nature, the patrician way, always said, was a marvellous thing, once you understood where his levers were. Yeah, that is pretty accurate. Obviously the levers here is just racial hatred and just absolute unjustified chaos and shit. Like, it's just fucking terrible. Maybe I've spelled Southampton wrong. Yeah, I think I have. No, maybe not. Latest. No, it's just very mute, it seems. But I'd imagine that a lot of people are covering this and it's just not appearing. Yeah, so don't really have anything else to add, so I shall move on from this. So apparently Pokemon Champions is coming to Android and iOS at some point, which is interesting because it kind of did feel like a mobile game, judging by what I've seen of it. As for if I play it, I don't know, the problem is they're gonna fucking infiltrate it with, or fill it with rather, the usual microtransaction bullshit and literally put it in your face. But also, how the hell are you even gonna run that? There has to be a ton of files in that to even get it working, so I don't even know. It's very strange. So I'm not exactly sure how to feel about this. I see the accessibility point of view, like the fact that this is for, well, I'll say Android and just on your phone anyway. It's kind of a big deal. At the same time, it's also made me skeptic about it. Like, what is it going to actually imply and what is it going to do, how is it going to execute itself? It's genuinely difficult to wrap my head around. Given that there already have been quite a few issues with it, I'm surprised there's even a port to begin with. So it's a bit strange as well from that perspective. Like, it didn't do well and yet it's still being done. What? It's a bit strange, but we have to wait and see, I think, with how this goes. God, I feel so fucking tired. I've literally come down with the flu, I think. I feel dizzy and tired, and also felt very nauseous before, but now I don't. Which is good, but my pals are still playing up. My BPM is... it's not updated, I think. But my BPM is high for some reason, I don't really know why. I was supposed to rhyme. It just makes me worried. It's actually still high. I know that pattern. Yeah, 121. I had 2 Cokes today, 2 Coca-Colas. I had one earlier in the day for lunch, and that was because obviously I'm drinking myself. But then I had another one because I felt so tired that I wanted to wake myself up ready for a big gaming session, but nope. The plan has changed. Which is annoying because annoyingly I had a really bad night with Ulez yesterday. I ended up leaving a group after about 5 tries. We even failed on the second phase somehow. Just so bizarre. I've never seen anyone fail that, but the healers were kind of crap, and also I didn't know what I was doing as a tank, so it's partly my fault too, and some weird things happening, like platforms dying in front of us rather than on the side. So strange. So I didn't have a good time with that. But yeah, again I want to retry it. I'll have to do 2 runs if there's no 1 run, because I don't really want to leave it for group hanging, especially if they're a decent group anyway. I might leave after the first, I don't know if that's coming or not. But man, it was so frustrating to see a duty complete group just fucking fail that so much. I get that people might be new to it and being carried, but there is a certain point at which the difficulty of this is so overtuned that it is literally impossible. In fact, I was playing tank, stacking with a tank to take Anchor Morn, and it killed me like 5 times out of 10 every time it appeared, and that was before I even taunt swapped and did an invul. So it's a bit fucking silly. Really, I don't like it. And that's one aspect that's overtuned, but there are others. Obviously, I think the fact that someone can grief is a bit stupid. so I don't like that aspect. They can put the green thing on the middle platform, which I've accidentally done before. It's a massive griefing issue, and then you've got the stupid rewards which end up being RNG, which doesn't fucking make sense. Just make it a consistent currency, or even just allow us to grind it. It genuinely doesn't make sense how they've tackled that. So dumb. So I'm not a fan of it, obviously. Still one of the worst bits of content in the game, in my opinion. It's certainly up there with PAS and B12S, but not as bad. Because it's at least doable, but it's kind of frustrating anyway, for the reward in it as well. You can get as much as 30 a week to about 200 if you're extremely lucky, maybe more. It's generally so frustrating, but anyway. I better move on. Just felt like sharing that. I need to talk about something that happened last night that was extremely weird. You probably might have noticed it with the intro, maybe, or the Pokemon Champions or something. I can't remember what topic it was actually. But basically, it seems like I come down with a really bad illness. I say really bad, but by my standards, it was a bit nightmarish. And I think for other people it will be kind of like amateur. But I think my medication has an influence in that it gives me a sort of immunity, from what I've understood of it anyway. I could be wrong in that. But I came down with several symptoms. Really worrying symptoms. I'd just gone out, I had some food and stuff obviously, and got some shopping. Got home, obviously unpacked everything, and started to feel pretty tired. I got into the bath. I was there for over an hour in the bath somehow. I don't know what the fuck happened there. But I guess I was really tired as well, really stressed out also. My BPM was at like 120 because some idiot left the doors open on the back of the house for some reason, as if we needed that open. And they had a bunch of rain. So obviously I'm going to be fucking stressed out. It is so bad. So that no doubt increased my heart rate, and then after getting out of the bath and feeling weak, I decided I need to re-energise myself again, and I've already had a Coke, so I had another one. And oh, yikes. It made me worse in a way. So it somehow made me more tired, but it increased my BPM to a steady 120, 121. And on top of that, I was getting really cold, feeling extremely dizzy. I thought I had a concussion possibly. Don't know how though. And I was also feeling a bit like I had a cold coming as well. It's really strange. I was also feeling nauseated as well as having bloating. So everything around this is so unusual. It's just not normal from what I can tell. So that was very strange. So I had no idea what that was. And on top of that, I had a fever, feeling extremely cold, in like 25, 26 degrees in my room. Yep. Totally normal. But this obviously means that I had to cancel something today, which I was meant to go to, and it was just, like, fuck me. It would have been good to go to this appointment, but I can't. So anyway, I went to bed early, because I was so tired, and not really surprisingly, it took me a while to get to sleep. It took me about, I think, an hour. Yeah, you know, I was covered in my bed. I had like, a sheet on me, because I only really do sheets in the summer. I don't really do duvet, because that's way too warm. And you know, I fell asleep for about, I think, an hour and a half, and then I woke up, and of course, because I haven't done like one of my things, obviously I won't go into that. I was sort of a bit panicky about that, and so I ended up finishing that, and then went to sleep at about 12 o'clock. Obviously before that I went to sleep at about 9:30 in the evening. So went to sleep then, woke up at about 3 in the morning. For some reason all the time now it seems to happen.
went to the toilet obviously and just normal and started to feel a bit better. But enough. It seems like the sleep really helped, and then went to sleep again, woke up at fucking 5. Like, what is going on? And then after that, another 2 hours of sleep, leading to a like fucking rapid total of 8 hours of sleep across like 10 hours of being in bed. And obviously I woke up sort of feeling a bit kind of weak still, but I had nothing else going on. But I still felt weird because I was like feeling really warm, I was feeling like really sweaty, and I still do, even with the fans on. So it's like I went from cold to hot overnight, which is so bizarre. But I've never experienced anything like it. It's one of the strangest occurrences I think I've ever had of an illness, especially one that's happened quite instantaneously. So I find it very strange. I don't know why it's happened. I tried to think like what are the possible causes of this, because if it was something about going out, then I've probably caught something, but don't know how, because, well, one, the 2 people I was near the whole time didn't have any illness, and 2, I wasn't even close to anyone else, and obviously 3, I'm quite hygienic, so I make sure I'm washing my hands constantly after going out, after touching stuff, using hand gel if I can. So it doesn't make sense. So it can't be an illness. That's what I'm thinking. And then I thought to the day before, where I had a meal that I didn't really enjoy, but sometimes, for some stupid fucking reason, manufacturers can't even design these things to be done in a single swing. But I had a bean burger from, gosh, I think the brand is, and it required you to oven cook it. And I was thinking, like, why fucking bother? These other ones can be done in a pan. And I also needed to have tofu with that as well, so I'm having like tons of fucking beans, which is weird as well, because I also got cold hands and feet, which happens when I don't get enough iron, but that had tons of it. So I had that. I also had tomatoes, I also had cruciferous veg, make sure I get in some extra fibre, and also had rice. Oh, and some fermented cheese. It's actually like a plant-based version of this chili cheese. It's extremely good actually. I'm not sure if it's fermented, that's hard to tell. It tastes fermented, but I don't know. Because that's all I had. I had the rice, microwave rice, and I had enough for the next day obviously. I couldn't finish that in one sitting. So I had it the next day and the rice was like fucking cold. I didn't actually, I mean hard, not cold, it was cold, but it was harder. It's the hardest rice I've probably ever fucking had, which is crazy. But if I had to guess, it might be the bean burger, because I did try to like cook it properly. One of the tricks I use to cook it in a frying pan is to poke holes in it and eventually break it apart so it cooks evenly. And that's possibly one of the causes, but it could also be the rice, because obviously rice, it can be a bit dodgy sometimes. If it's not done properly, it will either can have some effects on it, like bacteria, and that could be a possible cause of this. So again, I don't know, but it's very strange. I fucking hated having this. It's one of the worst I've ever felt, and what's so annoying is I managed to do all my tasks yesterday. The hobbies, I mean, not tasks, different things. I consider the tasks the side things, but the hobbies I consider like a job, and I try to stick to it as much as I can. So maybe like try to do like 3 hours a day is probably what I do most, but also I have an extension of that where I might add to my story I'm writing at the moment. It calls roots. I can't find a name for it. But yeah, I just find it very strange. But I felt like reporting on this because it just didn't make sense. It didn't seem right to me to have this issue. It's a very bizarre thing to have. Again, I've never really experienced anything like it. I just don't know what happened. I'm still trying to figure it out. There's just so many weird things there. So I'm not sure what else to add, to be honest. I think that's about it for this, I believe. I don't really think there's anything else to report. I did have, I guess, like gas as well, which is not unusual, but this one was harder to get out. Even with like false alarms going to the toilet trying to figure that out, try to get out. Nothing came out. It was like the first time something did, but it was like a mix of mucus and something else, so possibly a flare up, like an instantaneous one, which is quite rare because it never usually happens. So yeah, I don't know. It's just a whole bunch of very strange circumstances around it. Don't really know what could be done exactly. So yeah, that's my weird illness explained. So yeah, I guess I'll have to move on now because I'm actually far behind on things, which is frustrating. I should be able to get it done quite fast. Also, I can't exercise today, no way. Because I want to get on the treadmill and start playing Pokemon, but it's just fucking impossible with the way I feel at the moment. So yeah. Don't really know what else to add here, so let's move on. So my issue's gone worse. I don't know what the fuck happened, but it's something wrong with my leg. I woke up last night in my 10-hour sleep, only an hour after I got to sleep, and my leg was really sore around the cuff, the ankle, I don't know what you fucking call it. It's more like the calf, but it's like at the bottom. And I thought, okay, maybe it's just where I've slept. I don't really think anything of it, because I don't really imagine it could be something. And also I was playing with a sort of wound that I had the day before. Well, not a wound, but like a weird spot. But I think it was like more upwards. Enough like there, it's found it. So it's like still there. But this mark has appeared like only a few centimetres away from it, but it's not really obviously like a bite, it's something else. I don't know what the hell it is. So now, on top of having that illness, I'm having to figure out what the fuck this is. It's just nuts. I've never had anything like this in my life either. At worst, I'd have like cramps in my legs before, and that having had an effect on me, obviously the day after, because I still feel it even just days after. But this isn't cramps, this time it's something else. And again, I've put it down to something that maybe I've slept weird or something. Maybe there's something hard underneath my leg and I didn't realise. It's just so strange. I had no idea what it could be. On top of that, I had cold feet as well, so there is a possibility. In fact, I still have. Hang on. That's a good point. I've got to check that. I don't like touching feet. It was cold inside, but it's warm outside. So on that foot, but what about the other one? It's about the same. It's like warmer on the right one, which is also right. So yeah, there's another issue. It's some of the strangest things I've ever fucking been through. No idea what this is. No, even like hints or supposedly hints that it could be something like organ failure, which explains the other symptoms, but I don't know how that could even tie into it. Because it's a weird thing to suggest, and I would have thought organ failure would have been a far more bigger issue. Like if I look at my BPM, it's at 80 now, it's pretty much calmed down. It's a good thing I don't have fucking energy drinks, because I think I'll die after that. But yeah, That's kind of crazy. I just wanted to mention that. Just, it's so weird. So I'm not happy about this, and I don't like it. It's also sent me back some of my plans, which I'd hope to get things done. No, I guess I'm fucked. So, another thing about protecting identity and just update, well, I've got topics today, I've got 3 of them. No, my leg. Literally, I don't know what the fuck is wrong with it, but it's gotten worse. There's much more red on it now, but it's the same area, same size as well, so it's not increased. But it's more red. Sorry. What the fuck? The weirdest thing is that I can't identify it as a bite because there is no bite spot. Nothing. I run my hand over it. Nothing out of the ordinary. It's hot, so I can't even tell. But the only bite spot of recent was above it, and there's supposedly one below it, but I can't even identify that. So I do not know, but it's also weird when I tread on it in certain ways. So if I stand on it kind of like leaning, it hurts. If I walk, it hurts nothing at all. It's so fucking weird. Anyway, I wasn't going to discuss that. I'm talking about identity and stuff about, well, you know, recent UK things where, you know, with the EHRC Code of Conduct basically being one of the pillars for removing rights from everyone, it's extremely concerning. I think this is one of the, no doubt, biggest controversies that could be taking place, not just in the UK, but the world, and there are also ways that I think we should also be preparing. So ways to get around it. That would mean safety for both, you know, LGBTQ plus adults and LGBTQ plus children. So it's really for both here, both parties. And both sides, or whatever you call it. So I think there are generally ways to protect it. So, you know, identity is important, and what a lot of people realise is it's in fact an inherent thing. You do just have either an identity or you do have a sexuality. And yes, this can appear in children as well. Shocker. But it's not. And that's really one of the big things here. You can't really ignore that sort of thing. So, yeah, like, what do I even say there? But there are more ways I think that can be protected. Well, I'm mixed up words. I swear I've not been bitten. But it's basically to go against the fascist regime and make sure you are completely protected no matter who you are in the minority. So I think it is really important to note that, because when it comes to minorities, everyone can be affected. Every single little minority can most likely be affected. And the best way to protect, in my opinion, is to just lie about everything. So it depends on what it is, obviously, what it is you're protecting. But you have to make it so that you appear in a different way. So, you know, say you're like me, you're pansexual. You can no longer identify as pansexual in a fascist world, like whether it's Keir Starmer or Trump, whoever it is. You can't identify as that. So what do? Simply put, I think you just say you're straight. That's it. And you might think that, well, that's not me, is it? Of course it's not. But it's a matter of life and death. And I think if people start getting suspicious, you need to obviously start saying that you're straight. Like, obviously you shouldn't be saying you're gay in public, where people can never hear you. But with people you know, it's probably a bit safer. I could be wrong on that. But I really do think it's important to make sure that your identity is protected. So you do have to lie about it. It's just a sad reality, but that is one of the only ways you can survive amidst it. And then you can also, if you commit to the part enough, and don't pass off as, you know, being gay or queer, whoever it is, or even trans, you can literally start to become an ally and become an advocate for it. So that means that you have the possibility of protesting for the rights, as you always have, and you have obviously better information on it. So when they say that, oh, people can no longer identify as gay and we're going to put them into concentration camps and whatever the fuck it is, what are they called? Detention centers, that's it. That's probably what they're going to do. So it's not concentration camps but detention centers, but they are pretty much concentration camps in ways. But that's the way to get around it. You identify as straight, so they can't really confuse you with someone else, and you get protected as a result, and you can also vouch for other people, you know, who are probably LGBTQ+, and, you know, identify them as straight, like literally vouch for it. So I think that's really important. I think that's one of the things that we need to pay attention to in this. Because that's going to be the difference between life and death, as I said, but also getting change. That's not going to be the only way. So you use it to protect yourselves. And when the time comes, if there is eventually repealing of that sort of thing, that law, that whatever it is, you'll end up being grateful in the end because you actually did something, you actually decided to play it safe and bring back change, bring change to the world, to the country, or whatever it is. But this also even applies to some things like the colour of your skin, maybe your age, so including day of birth, and even everything else like relationship status. So I think one of the other things we'll be seeing is probably, you know, in line with that thing with sexuality and relationships, I think there'll also be a thing where the governments rather say that you can't have relationships obviously like single. In fact, if you're not married, you're probably going to get fined and taxed or something. So you obviously lie about that, or you maybe just hook up with some person that you don't really, you do know rather, but you can trust each other. So you get married based on that, and that stops them. This is again what I mean by lying, and you actually don't have the marital status, so when obviously it comes to something else, maybe a divorce or something, you can just jump onto your current relationship and marry. Although you have to be sure with the other partner that that's fine. Although that does lead to a complication, which I just realised now actually. You probably can't do that all the time, because that means that someone else, you know, the partner you met, is going to have to face the consequence of that for longer, possibly. So it's just a really fucked up situation, although you could probably just marry again, but it's like the system, that's the thing. You're basically trying to beat the system, and that's what it sort of entails here with this. That's why it's so important. So, what else is there? I don't really think there is much else on this specific topic, to be honest. I just think it is important to bring it up because we need to have this discussion now, other than when it's too late, when we have a pro-Russia state and the country is just going to shit. You know, especially when they start rewarding, you know, fine or other bounties even for gang minorities for whatever reason. I don't know why you would do that, because that's not very fungible. I don't know the term actually, it's not very applicable. But it definitely is a possibility, and you know, you can't ignore it. You need to be careful. I think that's really one of the biggest reasons why this should be brought up and discussed. So yeah, I don't really have anything else to add on this, so just the same as I said before. Just be careful out there, obviously don't be too revealing, too open about things. But also try to find like-minded people, I suppose, to be like, you know, LGBTQ plus allies, and you just find out through those groups, like, you meet someone, it's like, oh hey, by any chance are you gay or something? It's probably going to be slightly caught in those cases, unless it's like a honeypot sort of thing. But I think you would know when someone obviously exposes the truth there. But even then, someone needs to demonstrate that they are actually gay, I guess. Or, you know, because ironically, gay people should be able to identify gay people just by the know-how of it. So it's like, I'm not sure how you do it in children, to be fair, that's a bit more difficult, but also with adults, we could probably say, oh yeah, you get an enema, you douche thing, I don't know what it's actually called, it just clears out your ass, and yeah. Also the order, it's like you identify things as probably exclusive to gay people or man, and so you were able to do that. That's why that's important. So yeah, is there anything else with this? I don't really think, to be honest, if there is. So yeah, again, it's all stuff to figure out, but there should be a way. It's just my main hope with this is that we do figure out things sooner rather than later. Prepare for the worst, and this is the other thing, this is the thing that gets me about just anything in general. When you're a minority, you shouldn't be thinking of it, oh, let's see how we can improve our lives now. That should always be secondary, because anything can happen nowadays, and especially with disability rights, where that can be just completely changed overnight. It depends on where you are, though. You literally need to be careful, and you need to pay attention. So you have to begin working these things out, like how to fight for better rights, how to fight for also these secondary things. But arguably keeping it in place, keeping people informed and stable is far more important. And that's just to establish the basic rights. I think we're guilty of being too comfortable in these positions, as we are now. That's why the UK has seen such a decline in LGBTQ+. We were previously really comfortable with gay people and even like to an extent trans people. But it suddenly changes and you don't see it coming until it's too late. Obviously that comes with the realisation of just fascist regimes and stuff are happening all over the place. So it just varies in, I guess, transparency in terms of how much you see this. I could be wrong, but it's just the way I see it. So yeah, again, the secondary thing is how to improve our lives. The primary thing is how to be alive, how to survive all this. I think that's especially important. Jesus, probably one of the hardest things I've ever had to say. Yeah, like, forget Pride Month. Begin thinking about Survival Month, because that's what we fucking need. Technically it is a celebration of survival. It's important that we also reinforce that. We come back stronger were we to see a revival of the hatred and homophobia. Or anything, just phobic of anything at this point. So yeah, that's what I got on this, so let's move on. This is like random, and even though I don't like platforming corporations, because technically this is, even though they're somewhat decent when it comes to everything, like marketing and recipes and even just their type of products, except for actually the drinks they do. Don't know why the fuck they've also done them. It's also a scam. I've seen it discussed enough times now. It very much is a scam. But the multivitamin drinks and stuff, prebiotics and stuff, I think. Like, I can't remember what it is. But I know it's not good. But I wanted to talk about Beyond. So I just got reminded again upon getting these in the shops recently, the Beyond sausage. They're extremely tasty. It tastes like sausage, except for there's one that's better in my opinion, which is the Nowak vegetarian sausages, and they are vegan. It's just funny. I don't know why they call them vegetarian sausages, but they actually taste like meat. That's the fucking crazy thing. These taste more meatier than the Beyond sausages. But then I also have to talk about the sad state of Beyond, where they just seem to remove certain products for no reason, and one of them happened to be the Beyond Breakfast. These were easily some of the tastiest fucking sausages out there, and they were even better than, well, these original sausages.
because they just add so much flavour to them. They're fucking amazing. I could probably live off them and never get tired of it. But they stopped selling them, and I'm always so sad every day that they don't sell these. And even then, the closest I've had, and actually I did show this in a video once, was probably the redefined bratwurst, but it wasn't as good. It's tasty, but not as good. But it's such a lost thing, and like a very distinct flavour, and I don't know where it's gone. Nowhere sells it anymore, and it's seemingly a lost art in that sense, I guess, for lack of a correct term. It's like so disappointing. Like, it really was one of those products that just defined, I guess, what plant-based meat could be, in the same way that Beyond Burger still is, and always will be, I think. Oh god, that reminds me actually, I've even tried more Beyond products, because I don't know where sells these things. Beyond, I mean Impossible products. Because Impossible Foods were previously, speaking of which, I've never seen Just Egg in the UK, because they said they were going to the UK. I haven't seen them yet, but anyway, Impossible products. They're also very impressive as well. I tried their fish fingers at some place, I can't remember where it was. I don't know, north, I don't know. But also tried the fish fingers one. I think they're shit actually compared to like corn stuff. Even Bird's Eye Green Cuisine. Also Tesco did some really good vegan fish, but it was pretty much gone now, I think. Sucks. It's like one of the most realistic fish products they have. The other thing, Impossible nuggets. The chicken nuggets, and these actually tasted like chicken. They're fucking nuts. The closest thing before that was actually like M&S. Yeah, M&S Plant Kitchen, and then they changed the recipe and it didn't taste like it used to. So it just goes to show you that a lot of these products that end up being really good just suddenly disappear. And it kind of sucks. And the last thing I tried from Impossible is the Impossible Burger. Probably, obviously burgers are quite a staple of like junk food, but they are actually pretty decent. I actually kind of like them. They're not as good as like just Beyond Burger, but they are good. But I enjoy it. But again, I don't know why they don't just sell these products in places and have it more frequently. But on top of that, I think one of the biggest missed opportunities, in my opinion, is when places don't even necessarily have these products actually at a reasonable price. So I know that Beyond probably lose out on a lot of their customers because the price is actually too high for a lot of people, and even then for the same price you could probably get meat, which is probably just as calorific and filling, and also probably tastier. Could be wrong, it depends on the seasoning. But it's just a wasted opportunity that they don't take the opportunity, especially in this economy, to actually just lower the prices. Like, fuck dude. I know the CEO is probably one of the less controversial ones out there, but I think he could fucking do is taking a cut, or take a hit, and actually have these products be affordable because people like them and people do consume them, especially in the US. They're more frequently made there and in more quantities. I remember the Panda Express one, what was it? The Beyond Orange Chicken Orange, whatever you fucking call it. But it sounds so good, and I don't know why we don't have something like that. But again, why don't you just make it cheaper for people? It doesn't make sense when it comes to plant-based foods because it comes from the actual, the source of things. Assuming it's done right. Well, it's mainly processed stuff, but it's not ultra-processed, which is different. In fact, I'm pretty sure meat counts as ultra-processed based on the definition because of all the sort of chemicals, microplastics, and what's the other thing that's in it? the vitamins, that's it. They're artificially given those, and it's not necessarily healthy. Antibiotics actually is one of the other ones. It's just nuts, and I just don't know why companies don't do that, and I don't know why they stop selling things too. It's a big missed opportunity, and there's so much opportunity for people to try these things and also convert. But I guess when companies have such greedy CEOs, it's not always possible. So you end up with that sort of stickler, I guess you call them. Just doesn't want change, doesn't pay attention to it. It just always sucks. But yeah, just felt like mentioning this, to be honest. It's one of those things. I'm not a massive foodie myself. I do stick to the main products for now and then anyway. But it's just sad when products get removed or changed or whatever. So not sold enough. Like, to be honest, I haven't seen many plant-based foods in like the reduced sections. It's very rare to find them. But it is frustrating anyway. And for some reason, actually, one of the shops I'm at, for some reason they sell outdated food for some reason in the meat-free section, which is a bit bizarre. Also, I've never seen that before. It's always weirding me out a bit. I'm not sure why they did that, but okay. Yeah, I just felt like mentioning this, so yeah, let's move on. So, what are my thoughts on the London Ulez thing? Because I found this through Dr. Simon Clark on YouTube, and I was kind of interested in this. Wanted to know how London addressed its air pollution problem. I've been to London a handful of times in my life, probably about 4 times. I think 2 of them was a school, one of them was as a trip, and one was a holiday. Sort of holiday. It's like 2 days, I think, or 1 day. At the hotel we lived in shit, and also have a bad memory from that, but I won't go into it. Sort of relates to a bit of trauma, but anyway. Yeah, but, you know, as a sufferer of air pollution, I do sort of see the benefits in Ulez, and, you know, the fact is that people knocking back against this are literally fucking delusional. Because, again, if there's evidences to be believed, and there is no causal effects for, you know, the things being said here, like maybe it's the season, maybe it's the fact that most people are not all feel it's because of something else, then it's a net positive, isn't it? Unless these things can be disproven, the evidence is just blatantly clear. It's good to have Ulez. But I'm not sure you call it for other places. I don't know. Let's not play that. Ulez, like maybe it's Bristol. Maybe there is a Ulez actually. I know Bristol's quite progressive. But you know, as someone who suffers with air pollution issues, it's good. Because my breathing issues seems to be a result of both asthma and seemingly air pollution, where that seems to occur. And also probably dust as well. I'm also getting an air filter in a few days, I think. I'm going to have to try it. Air purifier rather. But yeah, I think it's good. And someone with sensitive breathing like I have, it could definitely be a benefit. Because I used to live near a main road, believe it or not, the first house I ever lived in. And I'd been there for years. But somehow over the course of those years I didn't develop any issues until later, where it seems like their schedule, like, I think it was trains, yes, somewhat close to a train station. But the trains changed everything, and they just sort of did something to your body which was not great. And surprisingly, actually, this is another thing, it's a bit personal, but I knew ex-smokers there, and they're still coughing. That's the thing. It even affects people who have smoked. So it's quite obvious that the air pollution here is quite bad, and it always has been. And I think that's such a major issue for a place like this. In all honesty, I think that does need to be sort of addressed. But I think the air pollution where I lived was bad, and that's probably what's caused my various breathing issues and breathing health problems. I've just like had a shortness of breath and a tight chest and stuff.
but you know, I think something like Ulez would probably have helped that place. And then I try to think, what other solutions to people who currently have to drive? And I think like, what about like a lightweight bike that you can actually carry around? And I'm thinking like e-bike, but apparently they're heavy. So I'm not even 100% sure what the ideal solution is if you do get a tax for causing big emissions. I also think that's a case where we need to be taxing people for not necessarily having like gas cars and refusing to use bikes, but you know, it should be money in that sort of situation should be used to support people, and in fact there should be a scheme where the relevant people could trade in a gas car to fucking literally get an electric car in return, or even at least an electric vehicle too, and extra money. Like literally have a scheme where, you know, the tax money maybe can contribute to converting the things over time. I don't know what it'll take, and it's really interesting when Sadiq Khan was mentioning how the sort of goal with Ulez was the climate change, what is it? Climate neutralisation, that was it, I think, within a few years rather than the 200 years, which was estimated by a paper. And it's very interesting that he managed to literally turn it on its head and do it in a few years, which is nuts. It's absolutely fucking crazy, and people don't really recognise that enough, which I think is a shame. So we do sort of need that. We need that sort of position to change things for the better in that case. So yeah, but I guess my thoughts on it are the same, but I'm also wondering, as someone who doesn't really want to drive, I'm wondering what other solutions I have to actually get around. And until we have like accessible flying bikes, I don't know if we're going to have anything sort of similar that's on this road. And even then, I don't want to go across the fucking highway. I don't even want to go the country route. So the problem then becomes, how do you even make transport accessible for the single person who doesn't want a car, doesn't want to even take up the roads? Actually, that's another thing. It wants to get around safely, and there's no like bike lanes where I live because it's been like a pretty ultra conservative place. So yeah, I've got with bike lanes in this place. Like, fuck, I think it's literally the place where they'll kill you for that. You know, I think bike lanes could be so beneficial, but a lot of people don't see it that way. They think, oh, it takes up space, or it's just more annoyances. You do realise they're lowering the carbon impact, and you're just jealous of the fact that they're doing that, right? I see through your fucking scheme. And I think we need to call that out more often. It is literally jealousy. As much as I don't like cyclists on the road, that's because somebody decided they're safer on the road rather than the pavement, where they are actually safest. Sure thing. Boomer. It's just so fucking dumb. And, you know, I remember cycling on the pavement as a kid, because there wasn't really any laws about it back then, I don't think. It's like early 2000s. Never an issue. Never ran into people, knew when to slow down, knew not to speed around a corner, just in case of hitting someone. And yes, I did used to ride a bicycle. It wasn't a lot though, it's just for fun. But I did used to do that. Also had a go-kart, like pedal one. That's an interesting scenario. I'm not going to go into it there. It's just a childhood story, but you know, that's the thing. I think better air pollution is obviously good, and I think the more people that ride bikes, the better. I think that's just going to be more eco-friendly. It's like the other day as well, we saw someone going past on a fucking quad bike, and this thing sounded like it had the engine of, oh god, I don't know, like a lawnmower or something, I don't know. But it was so fucking loud. I literally couldn't hear myself. And you know, these are the issue. And they're obviously pumping out gas and stuff. You could tell by the fumes, you could tell by the noise they're making. You know, seeing a world where that isn't a thing also just seems great. If there's like solar panel quad bikes, that's great if that's even a thing. I mean, just electric ones. But, you know, I see so many benefits to a world where we don't have fossil fuels at the core of our travel. But as I said, a scheme where you can trade in vehicles to get, again, these solutions, like an electric vehicle or electric bike or whatever it is, like you have a choice in it. I'd see so many benefits from that. And on top of that, car manufacturers obviously have to start doing that sort of thing, and have to start manufacturing these things more frequently. Obviously they give subsidies for it as well, as another thing. But we don't even need full-fledged cars as a thing. I think the only reason people have cars is because it's like maybe a storage thing, but also it's kind of like a safety thing, and the only reason they're so big is because of all the fucking components they have. Well, let me look this up. How small, come on, type properly, how small can you make an electric car? Because that's going to be the big thing, given you have electric bikes already. Here's one from Colouring Kyoto. It's like a toy car. It's not the same thing. Fuck off. There's like tiny electric cars. I've seen these actually. Similar sort of shape. It looks like a Mini Cooper. That's like a Volkswagen EV. It's like, oh, it's a project. This is not the same thing. Even then, if there's like the kits to convert them more easily. Yeah, the Renault Twizy, I've seen that. You know, stuff like this is far better, and it's probably also safer as long as you're not going at a stupid speed. I think it will require like things like the speed limits to be changed, so the max would probably have to go from 80 on a motorway to about 50, except for maybe lorries or something. I don't know. But even then, it should be going too fast anyway. It's dangerous. But I could be wrong. But this is all to be studied and again looked at with no causal effects in between. So I just see too many benefits to an electric system, and you know it's going to piss off the people who are very car heavy. Like literally looking at things like, is it an electronic sports car? Oh, fucking hell. Like, those are the sorts of people who I think just need to change their ways in a way. As much as it's disappointing, I think these sort of things, and actually they do have a place, what am I saying? You know, we're still going to have like electric lorries and stuff and delivery places, but you know, when it comes to speed and just what it takes to make these things, it's like, it's better to have an electric vehicle for that, because the speed of the electric vehicles, from what I've understood of it, are much faster than gas vehicles, or fossil fuels, or whatever you call them. And that seems like it could only get better with the future obviously coming on. So, as I said, there's just too many benefits to a clean and green system, especially when it comes to vehicles. Also reminds me, there's another thing I saw that same day, actually, like driving past shops or something, and bloody car went past with smoke coming out its fucking exhaust. Are you kidding me? You can smell it, obviously, and just see it. It's so fucking bad. But it's the sort of shit that pollutes the air and makes it worse for people. I think that's why there's genuinely a danger there, and that's why it should be taken note of. It's just so fucking bad. So yeah, I don't really know what else to add, to be honest, but I think seeing a world with electric vehicles and better air pollution is also going to be a lot better. I think that's just an overall benefit. It's a no-brainer. So yeah. So I don't really know what else to add, but yeah, that's about it, so let's move on. Well, this will be a fun topic, I suppose. God of War, Laufey. Laufey is one letter away from Luffy. Anyway, actually two. If you take out the E. But I thought it was interesting, but also sad. Because I'm not really a fan of God of War. I gotta admit, I've seen playthroughs of it, and I kind of like, yeah, it's good, it's decent. Obviously, Boy is quite iconic, and you can't really dissociate them, but people are making a big stink about God of War Laufey, and I don't think it's justified. Because, if anything, the criticisms are absolutely fucking useless. They're just really insecure men, probably incels, who don't want to see a woman as a protagonist in their game. And it's one of the most pathetic things ever. Like, you watch TV shows with women, you watch games with women, you'd rather play them, not realising that you're playing a woman. I have no issue with it, which is so fucking weird. And then they put, for some reason, this game, this series, on that pedestal. And honestly, I applaud God of War. Well, I forgot the name of the developers now, but you know, the developers for trying something new here, where it's stepping away from that hyper masculine sort of side where Kratos is that gravelly, I don't know, grungy, possibly type of guy who's a pretty cool dad figure and kills gods, supposedly, from what I know of the lore. But, you know, it's different that they're going the route of his wife, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe the mother of Boy, I can't remember his name. For some reason it came to me and it disappeared, I don't know. But yeah, that's what's going on here, it seems. They're trying to explore a different story, and I think it's actually the afterlife. I'm not sure, it's like where you go after you die, and Laufey's went here. I could be wrong, maybe I'm misunderstanding it, maybe it's not Laufey, maybe it's not his wife at all, it's just someone that he knew. I could be wrong. Maybe a goddess, I don't know. But I think it's certainly an interesting aspect based on what I know of God of War. But again, the criticisms are fucking useless. And then Domino's Pizza in the UK, bye-bye from me. What the fuck that noise was? What the fuck was that? I don't know. Yeah, Domino's Pizza UK is just, they've made a response saying like God of War without Kratos is like pepperoni pizza without pepperoni, which is fucking dumb. Like, they don't need to go the route of that. Like, it's so fucking dumb. Because it's them exploring a different perspective. Like, the same way a GTA game doesn't always have to be about gangsters saying the N-word all the time. Like, it's just ridiculous. Like, what's a GTA game without the N-word? It's still a fucking GTA game. In fact, I think GTA 4, they didn't even say that a single time. If I'm not mistaken, though. And even Vice City. But the point is, you're defining a game based on something that's not actually defining it. However, Kratos is just happens to be the protagonist. So does his son in this. Was it adopted son? Actually, I'm not sure now. Someone anyway. But you know, this ridiculousness of this sort of topic. It doesn't have to be about Kratos. In fact, if they did a game where you play as the gods, like, God, imagine that. That'd be fucking cool. And it's like a series, maybe it's like a fighting game. You know, the side ones. You have combo moves, maybe it's one of them. And you play as the gods versus other gods, and eventually Kratos is the last boss, but I don't know, you always fail it or something. But that's intended. But man, that'd be so fucking interesting. You know, it doesn't have to be about Kratos either. That's the point. So, again, this criticism doesn't really work, and then Santa Monica, I don't remember the name now, responds that, sure, thanks, corporate Domino's account. It's just, it was a bit of a savage response though. Just calling out corporate bullshit. But yeah, the other thing is that just Domino's Pizza seems to just really appeal to incels then, I guess, or rather wants to appeal to them.
which is disappointing as well. Because they're kind of making that point. So I guess with this, it's sort of implied anyway, given the discourse we've seen. So I'm not strictly saying it is about that, but again, it's implied. But as for my response to the gameplay, I suppose, not the gameplay, but you know, the character, obviously, Laufey. I guess she's alright. From a design perspective, I'm not all that happy. It's not that I think she's ugly, she actually looks very nice. She actually looks different to a lot of characters. In fact, one of the things I fucking detest about a lot of games now, these days, is they're always young and hip characters. They're not, like, almost middle-aged, which I think Laufey is. Let me look again. I've got a Laufey. Let's see, is there any close-up pictures? That's as good as we're gonna get. No, it's not loading, thanks. She doesn't look like many other female characters out there. In fact, she looks more human than a lot of the characters out there, which is interesting. Like, you see her jawbones, you see, that's a long neck, what the fuck? Human necks are not that long, are they? Okay, I didn't notice that before. She has a long neck. There's a better picture. But yeah, she actually looks like someone who's, I think, in her 30s. I could be wrong. Maybe, I don't know, I don't want to offend anyone by age, but age doesn't really matter in this case. I think age is really inaccurate for judging these sort of things, but yeah, you can sort of see sort of signs of aging or wear and tear on her face, which is also a very interesting aspect. She doesn't just look like one of these young, hip Zoomer characters, which is really cool. But there is my one criticism of this, and it's probably not to do with this game, but rather criticism of other series, because even though they do the young and attractive female characters, they don't actually go the route of, for some reason, making them iconic. Because one of the things with a masculine game, which ironically God of War can sort of be, even though just, I don't know, Kratos doesn't actually look too masculine, to be fair. That's the thing, he also looks kind of realistic, in that sense, more like a human. And that's obviously one thing going for it, but other games, they don't even explore the aspect of a female character being extremely buff and extremely strong. And even then, I've seen it done pretty poorly when they've tried it. Like Overwatch, for example, there's a character Zarya, who is a bodybuilder, supposedly. And that's pretty much her pride, I guess, the pride and joy. But for some reason, she doesn't look as masculine as she could. So even though she's a tank, she's just like a slightly wider body build. But for some reason, nobody ever explores the aspects of, and I've only seen one game that does this actually. I'll look it up. Yeah, they never make characters like this. But one of the perfect examples of a female character, who I think is just literally chef's kiss, just fucking amazing design, really cool, is Sakura Origami, rather, from Danganronpa. Literally peak. I've never seen a character like her, and the moment I saw her, I was like, yeah, I fell in love. So I think that she's very interesting. She's got one of the most interesting designs for a character, and it's such a lost art nowadays. And what's also interesting is that even though she's like the ultimate martial artist, she's actually kind of surprising. I would have thought she'd be bodybuilder, but you've got another character in the same game who's obviously less masculine, who is the ultimate swimming pro. And that's Aoi Asahina. You don't see characters like this anymore.
And that's just also really sad. You don't see characters like Sakura, which is disappointing, and I would really like to see more characters like her. Even just away from that sort of style of looking like a Dragon Ball Z character. It just would be so cool. And then there's like the best girl, in my opinion, Chihiro. I do consider Chihiro a girl. I think my fan theory for why Chihiro is so misgendered in the game is because of Junko. Obviously the protagonist, not protagonist, antagonist rather. But that's my theory anyway. You know, Chihiro is one of the cutest characters in the series, in my opinion, but also smartest. But yeah, literally best girl. But yeah, I don't really know what else to add here other than I just wish there were more hyper-masculine female characters. Even in Genshin Impact, where the closest they ever got to that was probably Visera? I can't remember her name now, it's the ball girl. She only looked thicker, that was the only thing. She had thicker thighs, thicker body, but that was it. It wasn't anything else defining, and it just felt disappointing. They could have done so much better. But I don't know, maybe it's something to do with Chinese law and obviously portraying a specific type of body there, I don't know. But yeah, I just wish there were more characters, a lot more like Sakura, who in my opinion is still one of the best female character representations I've ever seen. Just an amazing design. Also just like the fact that she is a martial artist, which is insane to think about. But yeah, I don't really know what else to add here, to be honest. Again, the female character design just it falls short in so many different ways. There's so many ways to make female characters better, but some ways it just doesn't do well. Yeah, also like short hair is like for some reason a very taboo thing to the incels. Even though women have always had short hair and they just don't realise it. You know, look at the bowl cuts, for example. Literally, you're complete fucking idiots if you didn't even realise that. Anyway, don't know what else to add, but yeah, so that's it. Well, gotta do a recap on this before I should talk about the Bricks and Minifigs situation with Ben Snyder versus Bricks and Minifigs. So anyone not aware of the story, Bricks and Minifigs basically stole an entire collection of his father's, I believe. It's like of Legos, I think it was his father's, I could be wrong. There's a bunch of Star Wars Legos and it was worth around $200,000, so they used Bricks and Minifigs to sort of sell it off. And they did a whole legal process, including contracts and stuff. And they never actually paid for it. So Bricks and Minifigs were obviously in the wrong here. They stole the products and didn't pay for them, and then started to claim when asked about it that Ben didn't actually give them to the store, even though he did. He has video and photographic proof of this. So it gets really corrupt when there's a bunch of police involved and they're actually trying to get their money or Legos back. I think both pretty warranted. I don't know what the term is actually. And it ends up with Ben for some reason getting arrested. And there was a bunch of redacted police footage from the body cams that was obviously shared and used here. And there's just no clear-cut answer for why this was happening. Why Ben was being treated as the perpetrator when very obviously is the owner, who I believe is called Brian, and the CEO, who is also involved in this. And so I made some notes on this recent video, where we got some very interesting reveals. So, a vigilante, thank you vigilante, has essentially hacked into the police system somehow. Well, I don't even know how we've started doing that, and got their unredacted footage, which is fucking insane. Like, what the hell?
Also, this is kind of another thing, another topic really. We should have more vigilantes than police, in all honesty. But the video is called I Got the Police Footage They Didn't Want Released, and it does reveal quite a few things. It's not what I was expecting, to be honest, but it was some of the most bare minimum things I was expecting from this, which is basically a bunch of loopholes and shit. So, let's get into it. I made some notes on this. I didn't really do let's explain everything that's going on, but I made notes. So the owner, I think is the owner of the store, Brian, I could be wrong, could be CEO, but he seems to think that the papers were fake. The papers that Ben was handing over after going through a legal process to get the Legos back. I forgot to say the owners also shut down the store that Ben was suing. So also when they won a court case, actually, I think it was. So there's obviously something corrupt here, but you know, that was the thing that happened. And obviously now Brian is saying the papers are fake. And so that is very suspicious, because it's obviously leading to many different problems here. Because it means that he's not even willing to read them. He's trying to ignore them to basically feign ignorance. Say that, oh, I didn't know they were real papers, because everything this guy was doing before was like harassment to me. The bullshit, if I got fucking paper from a harasser, I'd read it. A normal person would read it. But it's not like he's putting papers through my door every day, so even then, harassers and stalkers, they wouldn't even like start with that, let alone end of it. So that point just doesn't make any sense. I just think you're incredibly stupid if you think something like that. I read every single alert that comes through my door except for spam mail. So when it's like a banker, I ignore it. When it's something else, like Tesco for example, for some reason I still get them, I ignore it. But yeah, anyway, there's more to this though. The owner starts accusing Ben of having drugs and trying to murder people. That's a very big accusation, and this was the part of that was worth mentioning. This is all the redacted stuff, so we're hearing this for the first time, and this is partly why I'm sharing it. But he's basically accusing Ben of murder and drugs. As far as I know, both illegal. Illegal, I mean. So, yeah, that accusation is a felony, given that there's no evidence for this. So it's fucking ridiculous. And then, for some reason, Brian calls the CEO of Bricks and Minifigs. And the CEO is then making excuses as well. Things to accuse Ben of, saying that Ben is cyberbullying and stalking online and doing harassment, and they're also pinning the blame on technology, which ironically these people probably don't know a fucking thing about, on the side of WhatsApp, because that seems to be what they're using. But they seem to be accusing Ben of this stuff, and that's extremely concerning, because that's again an accusation without evidence. It's basically guilty until proven innocent, and that seems to be how the Utah and LA police seem to work here, and ironically a lot of the UK as well, because that's probably how it works here too, from what I've heard. Though I'm fortunate enough to have been in a situation where that wasn't a thing, but you know, times are changing and it's for the worse. Anyway, then there's another interesting bit which I think is highly suspicious and probably illegal. The police officers turned off their microphones on their body cams, which I didn't even know they could do. So I think what they did in this section, I didn't see it properly, was talk on the phone or in the police car to someone, and that just seems wrong. It's body cam footage for a fucking reason. If someone leaks the code to the nuclear arms or something, and it's out there, I don't think it should be fucking unredacted. By all means, it should be edited in that case, like, remove it for sure. You don't want anyone getting that in their hands, but if you're going to put it in a database, with that sort of thing. You shouldn't fucking have that in there. So things are legitimately dangerous shouldn't be in there. But when it comes to people's lives, when it's like a average person thing, not like a nuclear war, it shouldn't be fucking redacted. Let alone the microphones turned off. I think they should just ban that immediately. And obviously arrest the people, the police officers here, who've done this. Because they're obviously in the wrong here. It's like turning off your mic when you're getting a fucking bribe, like going on the phone saying, like, you know, there's this guy here who's claiming you're doing things, like, how much is it going to cost me to arrest them on your behalf? It's like, yeah, turn off my mic quick. Yeah, that's suspicious as fuck. Yeah, that doesn't flag anything for, you know, anyone else, the police, the legal system. It's ridiculous. So I just found that absurd. And then there's another thing, because they use these accusations supposedly to be used against Ben. And after Ben is arrested, Brian is saying to the police, "I love you." Are you fucking kidding me? You're giving this cunt what he wants without even understanding the situation. So that's just ridiculous. And the fact that there's also two people in on this, the CEO and obviously the owner here, is even further proof of the corruption and the lies, obviously. And these are people who should be charged. It's not Ben that should be charged, it's these two people, the CEO and Brian here. It's fucking ridiculous. So, there was more than that. They raided the house and talked about the cameras. For some reason the police didn't like the fact that they could be recorded, even though they have Bodycam footage. And, you know, this is the thing with recorded footage. I know some people don't like being recorded on the job, at least when it comes to something like, I don't know, working on a construction site. I think that's a bit creepy. But there is reason to have surveillance footage and tracking for these things, and bodycam footage especially. When it comes to personal affairs, big difference between affair and construction. You need real proof of these things happening, where they are happening. So, again, they're conducting this raid, worried about the fucking footage when they themselves are recording. If you are so just in what you're doing, you wouldn't criticise a person for recording you. It reminds me of the Afro Man thing that happened recently with a really funny court case. He was taken to court by the police that raided and arrested him for seemingly possession of drugs and kidnapping. They couldn't find anything. And he made fun of them because they were doing really corrupt things like attacking, I think they're actually disabling the cameras and even looking in places where you won't find a fucking body. It's so dumb. So it's just one of those things, you shouldn't be criticising this when you yourselves are hypocrites on this. You signed up for a job where you get into personal affairs. You are therefore obligated to be transparent. You can't just go into police expecting gangs to tip you off or bribe you to look away, to get their enemies arrested. That's not what the fucking legal system, let alone police system, is there for. Ironically, police have not really become to serve and protect anymore. It's actually become to protect billionaires and serve no one. That's what it is. And that's the reality that we're in. So, that's another thing. But anyway, they showed the footage as well of being in the police station, and there was apparently an investigation board there, according to Ben, with details of Ben and his team. There's like a full investigation into them, and apparently he has a thing called the Church of Scientology Sucks, which is amazing. Didn't even know that was a thing. Kind of curious about that, given I learned about Scientology only a few months ago. About bullshit around it and stuff. But yeah, it's interesting they're investigating that, as if it needs to be investigated, because what the fuck are you doing? Scientology is a cult. It's not a fucking church. So it's just ridiculous. Anyway, then there was a big reveal on another one of these bodycam footage, and I don't know what this was from exactly. I didn't hear Ben on this properly. The police were scheming to get Ben arrested, and I think... Did they redact the conversation? I can't remember actually. I turned off the mic at least. Yeah, I think actually Ben was narrating it, and it definitely seemed like that's what they were doing, based on the bodycam footage. But it seemed like they were discussing ways to get Ben arrested for whatever reason. Again, I'm not really sure. A lot of this is just so fucking ridiculous. So yeah, that's another thing. And that's about where it stops, honestly. So far the story seems to be that Ben is in the innocent, but I do have one problem, which you might not expect me to hear. Why is Ben redacting things as well? Because I'm someone who's very unbiased on this, and when I first heard of this situation, I was thinking, yeah, there's something really fishy here. But it's hard to say who's right or wrong. But obviously I'm not very corporate friendly anyway, because corporations end up being the criminals all the time. It's actually nothing new. But this is one case where it affects someone's personal life and gets in the way of everything. So, you know, if something this valuable to someone, it matters. So what's so suspicious about Ben is, in the video there's a lot of random black screens and transitions, and I think the best thing that Ben could do, at least, is to release the unredacted, unedited footage, or at least, and this is what I think should be done, I think give the footage to trusted YouTubers, like for example Moist Critical and other content creators reporting on this, to verify this sort of thing, so you do have that verification of the unredacted footage where they review it and obviously go through the entire thing, pointing out anything that's wrong. So yeah, that way it avoids the more suspicious side of leaving out parts. But I don't really know what else to add here. You know, so far again it's all on Ben's side for being in the right. But for Bricks and Minifigs, I don't think there's really any excuses at this point. They've just committed so many felonies compared to what we've seen of Ben. It seems like it's ridiculous, this situation. And it's obvious corruption. Apparently, according to Ben, they set up, Utah and LA police are working together to get Ben arrested again. What? Are you fucking kidding me? It's just so weird. I don't understand that. Because the thing is with police investigations and shit, you do need a good basis for what you're doing on this person, like an actual proof of these things. And at the moment they don't have anything. Everything Ben has done has been completely within the law. And even on cases where it's like going to the house with someone who actually can verify that she's on like an unbiased party, it's like, it's so fucking nuts. I genuinely don't understand it. So it's extremely strange. So yeah. I don't really know where I stand here, to be honest, but I also might end the podcast because I've got to the long parts of it, you know, a few hours in. Again, it's a disappointing situation, and just hope this things sort of work out in the end, because it's just a ridiculous amount of corruption, it seems. It doesn't surprise me that there are corrupt people, but at the same time we need to actually be holding people accountable for this, so regardless of who it is, and I'll make this point very clear, if it is Ben who's corrupt, prosecute him, take his fucking positions. But if it's obviously Brian, same thing, prosecute him, take his positions. Because this is fucking absurd. We shouldn't be allowing this in this day and age, this economy. Stop siding with the billionaires, otherwise they'll walk all over you next. So that's the end of that. Thanks for listening.